So when China means business, when they say they will curb rare earth exports, they really mean it. They mean business. But still many don't get China's leverage, and we need to explain it one more time. For the people in the back, China's advantage lies not in rare earths production. Yes, in the past, China used to dominate almost everything, but other countries today, they have their own mines as well. Now, China's share has gone from 99% to 60% in 2019 to around 68% today. Other countries like the US, Australia, and even Thailand, they are producing their own rare earths. Going forward, more countries will start producing their own supply as well. And if there are reserves in the ground, they will dig them up. The problem is, where do you refine them? It's 2025 now, and trying to build rare earth refining plants is virtually impossible. The economics just don't make sense unless you are China. The environmental hurdles are extremely high in the West, and you need dirt cheap energy to process them without burning a ton of cash. And that's why 90 to 95% of global refining is done in the mainland. Australia's Lynas is facing big problems building their rare earths processing plant in Texas. Why? Because production costs are just so high. The investment needed is so vast that the outcome is so uncertain. They need to secure offtake agreements before they even proceed. They want US companies and all the manufacturers to buy up the processed product first. But here's the rub. Why buy refined rare earths in the US when importing them is more cheaper? And that's why Trump is caught in a trap, partially engineered by China but mostly set up by US economic policy. Does he dare to tariff rare earth imports and subsidize domestic US refining? That is the question. But if that's the case, how much will this add to the deficit? Or will private companies have to pick up the bag? Well, it seems that China isn't going to give Trump a choice, and this is even before China's October announcement. The restrictions aren't even enforced yet. Rare earth exports to the world fell from August to September, from 7,300 tons to just 6,500, and we can guess most of the export drop was probably from China to the United States. The unthinkable has begun, and China is putting the squeeze on Washington. Now, what we are seeing is a big reversal. It's a warning shot before the Trump-Xi meeting. Bessent is furious and says China is breaking down global trade. But truth be told, the moment Trump started the trade war, the moment he pulled the trigger, he broke the entire system first. Things are getting weirder and weirder in the US. The best way to get China to U-turn the rare earth curbs is to lower the tariffs yourself, or at the very least reduce or remove the chip restrictions. Allow chip makers in Japan to the Netherlands to sell advanced gear to China, and that would dismantle the curbs in a hurry. But Trump is still sticking to the tariff playbook.
And we are in a very strong position because of tariffs. We're in a very powerful position because of the fact that we have tariffs. If we didn't have tariffs, we would be in a very weak position. We would be in a weakened state. But with tariffs, we've made hundreds of billions of dollars, not only from China, but from others. And China wants to talk, and we like talking to China. So we have a very good relationship, and we're going to be meeting in South Korea in a couple of weeks.
Should China ramp things up, the consequences will be disastrous for the entire US supply chain. Almost every sector will suffer from either higher costs or an outright shutdown production. Now, iPhones made in the US will be a myth. Unicorns will be more likely than affordable EVs made in the States. And the idea of clean energy transition will be virtually impossible. The rare earth element oxides above are controlled by China, anywhere from 80 to 95%. If China cuts away supply of, say, cerium or samarium, midstream industries will crumble. Making batteries, catalysts, and magnets will be simply impossible. And this has a knock-on effect all the way to downstream industries. Now, good luck trying to make wind turbines, EVs, electrical equipment, and even basic manufacturing products without them. Even if you import it from the rest of the world, the tariffs are going to jack them up by 10-20% in cost. The cascading effect is real. Even if the US manages to dig up all the rare earths in the world, you still need to process them. We have to remember that these minerals are actually plentiful and scattered globally. Processing these minerals requires more than 100 steps, and some segments are closely guarded secrets, and some of them are tailored to the geology of where the mine metals came from. So, what probably works in a Chinese mine probably won't work in an American mine. All the experience is concentrated and held by refiners in China. Beijing is not playing around here. They have implemented restrictions on the export of rare earth processing equipment. In addition, the central government is barring their experts from going overseas without permission. Now, this might sound draconian, but China is just giving the US a taste of their own medicine. If you force us to make our own semiconductor or AI chips, well, you need to do the same for your rare earths processing technology as well. It's basically a tit for tat, which leaves the US in a very weird pickle. Now, sure, you can dig up all the supplies you want, but it still has to be sent to China for processing. And considering the state of US China relations, it will be a cold day in hell for Beijing to approve this. The US can knock, but Beijing simply won't answer. So, how long will China have leverage? Probably for decades to come, even when it just comes to mining the materials, the minerals. There are 22 rare earth projects that hope to be up and running by 2030. However, like the Linus Texas project, will it even be feasible? How are you going to get financing when China can throttle down prices as and when they like? Now, Beijing might be putting on curbs today, but it can flood the market with supply tomorrow. It's always possible. Then, mining projects, especially in North America or even Australia, could become uncompetitive. Prices could collapse below the cost of production. We must be aware of this. The Trump administration going around buying up equity stakes is a knee jerk reaction. Now, it's better than doing nothing for sure, but it will come down to just one key question: how much debt and deficits can Washington endure to rebuild US supply chains without any guarantee of success? Because China is going to throw glass, they're going to throw barbed wire on the floor as well. It won't be easy, not by any stretch. While Trump and Bessent are panicking, US chip giants are also frustrated. Recent actions from the administration has cut them away from the Chinese market. Remember China's recent ban of Nvidia's chips. Reality is now starting to sink in, and Jensen Huang is getting really frustrated. Nvidia is going to face bigger and fiercer competition from China really soon.
At the moment, we are 100% out of China. And so China is 0% of, we went from 95% market share to 0%. And so I can't imagine any policymaker thinking that that's a good idea. That whatever policy we implemented caused America to lose one of the largest markets in the world to 0%. But anyhow, in all of our forecasts, if there are any shareholders out there, all of our forecasts, we're assuming zero for China. If anything happens in China, which I hope it will, it'll be a bonus. But it's a large market. China is the second largest computer market in the world. It is a vibrant ecosystem. I think it's a mistake for the United States to not participate.
Did you manage to catch that? Nvidia is assuming zero market share in China. Jensen has given up and is blaming policymakers all the way on Capitol Hill. Trump, Lutnick, and Bessent, they have pushed China to a corner, and now Nvidia is paying the price. Beijing has cut away the biggest semiconductor consumer market away from the US, and this allows China to accelerate and support their domestic chip makers even more. Now, all Chinese demand will be funneled into their local champions. Huawei is going to double their output of AI chips next year. In 2025, they made 300,000 of the 910 Ascent chips, and next year it will double to 600,000 chips. They will raise output to an extreme level in 2026, and this means they can start producing millions of AI chips for their own domestic consumption. And since Nvidia can't participate, Huawei will get all the sales they need. So more money for R&D will flow into Chinese companies, and very soon we'll have the Ascent XYZ chips that will eventually catch up with the Blackwell series and beyond. It's gonna come. Ladies and gentlemen, that's just part of the nightmare for Nvidia. And if we tie this carefully into China's rare earth curbs, the entire US AI complex could be in serious danger. China's rare earth restrictions will impose new rules. Global chipmakers will be required to obtain an export license to sell their products anywhere in the world. And this could affect companies like TSMC, SK Hynix, and Samsung. So China could always question these companies selling chips to the US. And guess who supplies Nvidia with their most advanced chips? TSMC foundries located in Taiwan itself. And they get their rare earths from China. So can you see the train wreck ahead? This is why Trump and friends are so desperate to shift chip production to the United States. They are in a time crisis and there's no escape. Unless they can reverse the tariff war, China could always ramp up the pain. And this is how badly the tariff war has flipped. The tables have been turned, things are still going to get crazier and crazier. And when we think of the US economy, the underlying assumption is that we are dealing with a free market, right? Buyers and sellers determine prices. Well, not anymore, my friends. Bessent has confirmed the unthinkable. The Trump administration will set price floors across a range of industries to combat China. Now, forgive me, but this sounds rather socialist, doesn't it? Doesn't that take away the intrinsic value of US markets and the entire capitalist system? Now, let's dig a little deeper into Bessent's mind because it reveals how deep of a panic Washington is in and how desperate things have truly become. This massive policy shift could last indefinitely. When you are facing a non market economy like China, then you have to exercise industrial policy. So, we are going to set price floors and the forward buying. In addition, Bessent just let slip an intention of who the buyer will probably be. The US also needs to set up a strategic mineral reserve. The US government will be subsidizing their industries using taxpayer dollars. Let's call it what it is. This is a stealth industrial bailout from Main Street to shore up US supply chains. Now, you can mask it, you can repackage it however you like, but this is essentially what the intention is. Will this work? I don't know. The US government will probably handle the forward buying to help industries lock in the revenue, especially the miners. But the real risk comes from the price floor, especially for the greater US economy. Now, there are two deadly effects that could arise. US free markets could get broken quite badly, and here's the problem with price floors. Firstly, they always reduce the quantities that buyers wish to buy. Makes sense because US prices will be elevated to keep these industries afloat. At the same time, sellers will want to produce more and to sell since the price is locked in. Now, what does this lead to? Oversupply and a glut. Who will probably have to scoop up the assets? The US government, aka the taxpayer. There you have it. Secondly, there will be winners and losers. Which companies, which sellers will be the lucky ones to sell things at a higher price? Will Trump or Scott Bessent be cherry picking all the winners? How about those left on the shelves? Will the companies or factories go belly up? That's why a price floor isn't as straightforward as it seems. We are truly in the twilight zone. It's like the administration is being led by Captain Jack Sparrow. We are on the black pole and the compass is missing. It's literally insane. So strap yourselves in, guys. This comedy and desperation isn't done yet. We are still in Act 1, and it's going to get bumpier and it's going to get wilder. But let me know what you think. Will China keep squeezing rare earth supplies in October and beyond? And are Bessent's price controls a good idea or just plain crazy? Let me know in the comments below. Stay safe. Be sure to smash the like button and subscribe as we navigate through these crazy times.